They say you should never drive away a dog that comes to your door at night. As the saying goes, dogs bring fortune, cats bring debt. I didn't believe it at first, until one night, a mangy dog collapsed in front of my house. My uncle, disgusted by its filth, told me to get rid of it. Where did this bad luck come from? Leo, throw this mangy dog out. It's blocking the door, and it stinks to high heaven. Confused, I asked my uncle, where should I throw it? Where else? Toss it in the latrine. Just as I grabbed the scruff of its neck, I noticed it was crying. Seeing its tears, my heart softened, and I let it stay. That simple act of kindness ended up saving my entire family's lives. That night, when Grandma returned from a funeral in the next village, the mangy dog started barking frantically before she even stepped inside. Grandma was terrified and started shouting, "Where did this dog come from? Get it out of here." As soon as Grandma ran into the courtyard, the mangy dog charged out, barking wildly at the empty air outside the gate. I ran over to grab its leash, but who would have thought that for such a small thing? I couldn't even hold it back. The leash slipped right out of my hand. It kept barking and chased something outside with everything it had. Seeing this, my uncle walked out and mocked me. "See, I told you wild dogs can't be tamed. If you want a dog, go to the neighbors and get a puppy. Why bring back a stray and cause all this trouble?" Grandpa smiled and pointed at me, saying, "As long as Leo likes it, that's enough." Hearing that, Grandma helplessly closed the door, picked me up, and said, "Leo, be good. If the dog ran away, it's gone. Grandma will get you another one." Suddenly, that mangy dog let out a howl and jumped right over our courtyard wall from the outside. Our wall was over 3 meters high, yet that dog actually cleared it. And when it landed, it didn't make a single sound. It just wagged its tail and started circling around me. This time, it didn't bark at Grandma, but she was still so scared she backed up several steps. "Something's not right with this dog," she said. Grandpa grabbed her sleeve and said angrily, "It has chosen Leo now. It ate the food Leo gave it, so it's our boy's blessing." Grandma seemed a bit afraid of the mangy dog. She hid behind Grandpa and said to me, "Leo, try going over and petting it." I walked over, and it started whimpering at me again. Although I couldn't understand it, I knew it was trying to please me. As I stroked its head, I turned to Grandpa and said, "Grandpa, this dog's teeth are so sharp. They're longer than the other dogs in the village, and they're curved like hooks." The mangy dog comfortably rolled over and actually showed me its belly. My uncle leaned in and said, "It looked sickly, and its belly was flat just a moment ago. How did its stomach get so round after running out for a bit?" Grandpa puffed on. His hand rolled tobacco and said, "As the saying goes, dogs eat waste and wolves eat meat. This mangy dog is different. Neither of those is its main diet. Meat is, at most, just a snack for it. It probably went out just now to hunt for a real meal." Suddenly, Grandma's face turned deathly pale. She sat on the ground trembling and said, "Are you saying something followed me back just now?" "Shut up. Don't say another word." Grandpa turned and snapped at Grandma. Then he pointed at the mangy dog and told me, "Leo, from now on, only you can feed it. It won't eat if anyone else tries." My uncle didn't believe a word of it. He brought a piece of cured meat from the house and held it out to the dog. Seeing this, Grandma shouted, "Don't do that. We barely have enough for ourselves, and you're feeding it to a dog." Grandpa just smiled slightly, not caring at all what my uncle was doing. Sure enough, the mangy dog turned its head and pointed its butt right at my uncle. It just looked at me and whimpered, its wagging tail slapping the meat right out of my uncle's hand. My uncle was so furious he gritted his teeth. He moved to a different angle, held the meat out again, and said, "Eat it, you damn beast. I'm giving you meat and you're still being picky." The dog's eyes suddenly turned blood red. It spun around and bared its sharp teeth, making my uncle stumble back in fear. Son of a, it tried to bite me. I quickly hugged the dog, and it immediately became docile, nuzzling into my arms. I looked at the meat on the ground, picked it up, and held it out. Only then did it open its mouth to take it. I was suddenly startled by a thought in my mind. Grandma looked delighted and urged me, "Leo, look at him. Whatever name comes to your mind, just say it. Don't overthink it." I stroked its head and noticed it stopped eating. It turned its head and stared deep into my eyes. The name, Lucky, slipped out of my mouth. Right then, Lucky spat out a tooth. Grandpa clapped his hands happily and said to Grandma, "Quick, go to the shrine and get a piece of red string. We'll thread this and put it on Leo." My uncle just spat on the ground in disgust. Grandma chuckled as she tied a knot around the tooth and hung it on my chest. Grandpa smiled and said, "There, now it's official." He looked at the dog and added, "Lucky, Leo gave you this name, so you must stay loyal to him until the end." Lucky circled Grandpa once and nodded. That evening, Grandma lit incense at the family shrine before joining us for dinner. Grandpa told us Grandma had gone to a funeral in the next village. On her way back, she passed the great river. It had rained, making the air thick and damp. Evil spirits in the water often take such chances to crawl ashore. One of those things must have followed Grandma home. Hearing this made me shiver with fear. Grandpa saw me trembling, so he gathered the leftovers from the table and put them in an enamel bowl. He handed it to me and said, "Leo, go give Lucky his rations." My uncle looked annoyed. He wanted those savory leftovers for himself. He grumbled that if we kept feeding the dog, there wouldn't be enough for him. Grandpa glared at him and said, "Don't be so petty. Better days are coming." My uncle lowered his head and muttered, "I thought you said meat wasn't his main diet." Grandpa tapped his pipe, and my uncle shut up. Grandma smiled at me. "Don't be afraid. It's raining out there, so move the dog's bed under the eaves so he stays dry." Later that night, the rain intensified. I was lying by the window when I heard a wolf howl. I sat up instantly. The mountains behind our village are full of wolves. When they're starving, they enter the village for food. The fierce ones will even jump into courtyards to eat livestock. Grandma held me tight and signaled for silence. Grandpa gripped his wood-chopping knife and moved toward the door. The howling outside grew louder, and then a different howl erupted from under our eaves. That was Lucky, but he sounded nothing like a normal dog. Thuds echoed from the sheep pen. Grandma panicked. Oh no, the wolves are going to take our sheep. Grandpa threw open the door, and my uncle charged out first with a steel pitchfork. We reached the pen just as Lucky leaped out through a hole in the wall. My uncle cursed. That damn beast. He's stealing from us. He's not a dog. He's a wolf from the mountains. Do you still think he's a treasure? The sheep pen was empty, save for several pools of blood on the ground. Grandma's eyes welled up. What a monster. And to think we saved his life. Grandpa knelt to examine the blood. Among the paw prints, there were several large, human-like footprints. Just then, a frantic knocking came from our front gate. It was our neighbor, Silas, holding a torch. He was with several young men from the village. Grandpa, come quick, Silas shouted. Something terrible has happened. Grandpa opened the gate, looking shocked. Did a wolf get into your yard and kill someone? Silas wailed. My wife. It's my wife. She's dead. He explained that she got up in the middle of the night to use the latrine and never came back. When he went to look, he found only one of her shoes. There was blood everywhere. Grandma sighed and said, I'm so sorry for your loss. Go gather the men to hunt the wolf. What can we do? Grandpa and I are just old bones. But Grandpa was a kind soul. Since Silas had come to him, he had to help. He asked, Silas, your wife is missing, but that doesn't mean she's dead. We need to find her. Silas cried, I'll be honest, Grandpa. I caught a wolf in the mountains this morning. But at midnight, I found the cage empty. I think it's out for revenge. Suddenly, a neighbor named Mrs. Gable looked at Grandpa. I saw Leo feeding a dog this afternoon. You haven't kept a dog in years. Grandma glared at her. She knew Mrs. Gable was up to no good. She had borrowed money from Grandma and never paid it back. They'd fought many times over it. Mrs. Gable continued, maybe your dog is the wolf that lured the pack here. I panicked and shouted, no, Lucky isn't a wolf. He's a dog. Grandma pointed at Mrs. Gable. Stop your lies. Which I saw us luring wolves. Silas hesitated. Grandpa, we saw a pack of wolves outside your gate just now. I saw a shadow suddenly leap out from the side of the yard, but when I looked closer, nothing was there. I'm not sure if the others saw it. Their attention was fixed on the bloody mess in the latrine. Grandpa knelt down and looked at it for a long time. The blood was covered in paw prints, but there was also a very distinct, large human-like footprint, identical to the ones in our sheep pen. After a while, Grandpa stood up and looked at Silas with a grim expression. Silas, besides bringing back a wolf today, what else did you do? Silas rubbed his nose, his eyes darting around nervously before he stared back at Grandpa. Nothing. I just brought a wolf back. I was about to skin it when it escaped. Grandpa questioned him with suspicion. Is that the truth? Are you hiding anything else from us? Silas glared at Grandpa, tilting his head back. Why would I lie to you? Just as everyone was looking at each other in confusion, a frantic cry for help rang out. A man ran out from behind Silas's house, his clothes torn to shreds and his face covered in blood. He screamed in terror. Help! Wolves! So many wolves! The man smelled so foul it made my eyes sting. Suddenly, I felt a searing heat against my chest. I reached in and touched Lucky's tooth. I wanted to ask Grandpa what was happening, but he pulled me back 2 steps. Silas grabbed the man and demanded, Where are the wolves? Where did you see them? Silas shouted to my grandpa, 7, come with me to the back. My wife might still be alive. Grandpa frowned deeply. The man pointed toward the bamboo forest in the back with a look of pure horror. The pack dragged a woman into the mountains. Go save her now, or it'll be too late. The commotion drew the whole village out. The village chief began organizing a search party, but Grandma rushed over to him. It's dark and raining hard, she said. Going into the woods now is too dangerous. Shouldn't we wait until dawn? The bloodstained man cut in. The woman is still alive. If you wait until dawn, she's dead. Hearing this, the chief mobilized the men immediately. Silas knelt in the mud, bowing his head to the villagers. Thank you, everyone. As Grandpa prepared to join them, I noticed something bizarre. The area was lit by torches, but a woman nearby looked at the ground and muttered, There's nothing here, Leo. Are you seeing things? Grandpa turned his gaze toward me. His expression shifted instantly, and he covered my eyes with his hand. Leo, close your eyes. Don't look, he whispered. As soon as I closed my eyes, voices erupted all around me. Men, women, young and old, all chanting, Go to the mountains and save her. I started shivering violently. Grandma noticed and said to Grandpa, In this rain, Leo might be falling ill. My uncle gripped his pitchfork, wanting to join the hunt, but his eyes looked glazed over and he seemed dazed. The chief was ready to leave. Grandpa suddenly grabbed my uncle and told Grandma, Go back, move now, or we won't be able to leave at all. Seeing us leave, Silas jumped up and cursed. You're not helping? You're heartless. And I called you 7. You're nothing. If my wife dies, I'll make you pay with your lives. Grandma tried to look back, but Grandpa pulled her away. Don't listen to him. Get home and grab our things. If we're late, people will die. By the time we reached our courtyard, my uncle finally snapped out of it. What happened? He asked, confused. Weren't we just at Silas's place? When did we get back? Grandma realized then that something terrible was going to happen in the village tonight. She hurried to lock the courtyard gate. Grandpa went into the main hall and pulled a bronze mirror from beneath the family shrine. The surface was so smooth the reflection blinded me. but when the light hit the floor, it formed a small bagua shape. Once we were all inside, Grandpa spoke. "You must have brought something back from that funeral. On a rainy night like this, the things from the river and the mountains have definitely entered the village." My uncle stared wide-eyed. "Dad, it's the middle of the night. Stop trying to scare us." Grandma smacked him on the head. "Scare you? You were almost possessed just now." My uncle started trembling. "Then what do we do? Everyone is in the mountains." Grandpa took a wood-chopping knife from behind the door and handed it to Grandma. He tucked the bronze mirror into his pocket and turned to my uncle. "You're coming with us to save them. We're all from the same village. We can't just watch them die." Grandma looked at me hesitantly. "Leo will be home alone. What if those foul things enter the yard?" Grandpa reached out, pulled the dog tooth from my shirt, and placed it in my hand. "Leo, stay inside and be good. Do not open the door. This is the amulet Lucky gave you. Foul things usually can't get close to you." After saying that, they left one after another. I hid in the main hall alone, not daring to make a sound. The red candle on the shrine was half burned. Just as I finally started to doze off, a voice suddenly came from outside the door. "Leo, come out quickly. Don't stay in the house alone." The voice sounded like it was right in my ear. When I opened my eyes, I realized it was coming from outside. I jolted awake and crept to the door. Peering through the crack, I saw many villagers were in the yard, each holding a torch. Facing the door was the man who had run out from the bamboo forest. The village chief and others stood behind him. The man said to me, "Leo, come out. We found the woman. The wolves have been driven away." I raised my hand to open the door, but the dog tooth in my palm suddenly turned searing hot. I snapped back to my senses instantly. Looking at them again, I noticed something. None of them had shadows on the ground. Seeing my silence, the man spoke again. "Don't hide in there. Your grandpa and the others went into the mountains and disappeared. We have to find them. It's not safe for you alone. Come out." The voice sounded distant then close, making my head feel fuzzy again. I was so worried about Grandpa and Grandma. Uncontrollable thoughts began to fill my mind. Save them. Save Grandpa and Grandma. Just as I was about to open the door, a wolf howled from the back mountain. The dog tooth became scalding hot. When I blinked, I realized I had already walked right up to the courtyard gate. The man's pale face was inches from mine. I shrieked in terror and ran back inside, slamming the door shut. I covered my ears, thinking, that voice is wrong. I can't listen. But the voices from the yard kept drifting in. "Come out. Don't you want to save your grandparents?" The rain outside grew heavier, the downpour drowning out those eerie voices. Suddenly, a bright flash of light swept across my window. I ran to the glass and saw the light was reflecting down from the clouds, originating from the back mountain. A bagua pattern slowly rotated on the ground. A second later, the creepy people outside the gate vanished. An orange-red glow approached, accompanied by hurried footsteps. "Leo, come out quickly. Follow Grandma." I saw Grandma holding a torch, opening the courtyard gate. As soon as I opened the door, she rushed in. She searched under the shrine for a while, finally stuffing all the incense ash into a red cloth bag. Seeing this, I stepped forward and asked, "Grandma, where are Grandpa and Uncle?" Grandma touched my head and said, "They're still on the back mountain. The villagers are possessed. They claim your uncle killed someone and are hunting him across the mountain. Lucky was hacked by Silas to save us. Grandpa sent me back for the ash. You're coming with me. The village isn't safe anymore." I followed Grandma out. We ran for a long time, seeing many torches flickering on the peaks and hearing shouts of "kill him." I wasn't watching the ground and tripped over something soft. I scrambled up and saw it was a wolf's carcass. Many wolves lay dead on the mountain. Their bodies were bloated, their bellies swollen and round. Water was constantly leaking from their mouths. Halfway up the mountain, I found Grandpa holding Lucky. There was a long gash on Lucky's back, dripping blood, and his belly was terrifyingly distended. Grandpa told me to kneel beside them. "Take out Lucky's tooth." Grandma placed the basin of incense ash directly in front of Lucky. She used the dog tooth to pierce through the torn skin on Lucky's back. Red threads soaked in bloody water passed through the wound again and again. Listening to Grandma's chanting, I finally understood what happened. When they reached the mountain, they realized the wolves weren't there to eat livestock. They didn't growl at the villagers. Instead, they were snapping at the air behind them. The air was strange. When the wolves bit down, blood actually splattered. Suddenly, the heavy rain started again. Silas raised his knife to hack at my uncle. Lucky lunged out and bit Silas from behind. My uncle escaped, but Lucky took a blade to the back. The villagers seemed to go mad, surrounding my grandparents. During the scuffle, the bronze mirror fell from Grandpa's pocket. Just then, lightning flashed, and the mirror erupted in a burst of light that shot upward. Thunder rolled, and the villagers fled back toward the village as if they'd seen a ghost. Only now did I truly realize that Lucky was no ordinary dog. Sadly, he wouldn't last much longer. Lucky licked my palm once, then his breathing stopped. Grandpa said we had to wait until dawn before we could return to the village. Standing on the mountainside, we saw a line of torches moving away from the village. They were heading toward the great river between our village and the next. As dawn broke, Grandpa led us back. Upon entering the village, we saw Silas. He was going mad, stuck inside a water vat and unable to move. Yet he kept scooping water with a gourd to drink. His belly was so bloated it looked ready to burst. From Silas's mouth movements, I could tell he was muttering, "Who's the ghost? Who's the ghost? They've come ashore." Just as we were panicking, a group of people walked over from the village entrance. As they drew closer, I realized they were all our fellow villagers. They were soaking wet from head to toe. The village chief walked at the front, smiling as he greeted my grandpa. Grandma wanted to speak, but Grandpa stopped her. He then gave a subtle nod toward the sky. The villagers' movements were stiff, and they were all heading straight for our house. It wasn't until the chief got close that I noticed their skin was terrifyingly pale. Their arms were covered in deep folds of skin. The chief spoke. Though his speech wasn't fluent, his meaning was clear. A wolf pack had entered the village and killed many people. He wanted my grandparents to help collect the bodies. Silas's eyes widened in shock. He kept shaking his head. Some of those villagers surrounded us again, their eyes fixed intently on me. In an instant, my skin crawled. Grandpa suddenly shoved me into the courtyard. Grandma took the chance to lock the gate. She touched my head with trembling hands and whispered, "Leo, wait for an opening. Climb out through the hole in the sheepfold and run to the back mountain to find your uncle." As Grandpa and the others followed the crowd away, Silas struggled to crawl out of the water vat. He walked to the gate and said to me, "Leo, run with me. The villagers have all become scapegoats for the water ghosts. We have to get to the mountain. Any later, and it'll be too late." I looked at him and my head spun. Silas's belly had already burst open, yet he was still urging me. "What are you waiting for? Hurry up and come out." I was paralyzed with fear. What was going on with Silas? How could he be alive with his stomach ripped open? I let out a scream and bolted toward the sheepfold. I looked back and saw Silas actually climbing over the wall, laughing at me with a dark, eerie ha, ha, ha. "Run, Leo. Let's see where you can hide." Just as he lunged at me, I ducked between his legs. I tried to rush out the courtyard gate, but found it blocked by a crowd of people. I quickly hugged the wall to hide. Silas grinned at me. I used every ounce of strength to dash into the sheepfold. Luckily, the door was narrow, and they got jammed together trying to squeeze through. I saw the hole in the wall. It was just big enough for me. After crawling out, I turned and sprinted toward the back mountain. Those people were frantic. They howled from the sheepfold, "Come back. Come back now. The mountain is dangerous." Suddenly, my footsteps faltered. I heard a blood-curdling scream from Grandma back in the village. Just as I was about to turn back to save her, a loud crash echoed. The sheepfold wall had collapsed. Many people crawled out. They weren't walking. They were on all fours like giant spiders, howling as they chased me. I screamed and turned to run. By the time I reached the mountainside, I was exhausted. Just as they were about to catch me, the ground in front of me exploded. A wolf burst out from the dirt mound, making me freeze in terror. But the creature wasn't coming for me. Before I could even turn around, I heard miserable shrieks behind me. I looked back and saw the wolf roaring as it pounced on those people. The villagers turned to flee. Those who were caught were bitten through the neck in a single snap. I could see black mist being sucked into the wolf's mouth. When the wolf looked back, I stared into its eyes and felt a surge of hope. "Lucky, it really is you." The wolf stopped, panting with its tongue out and wagging its tail at me. Seeing this, I shouted, "Lucky, hurry. Go to the village and save Grandpa and Grandma. They've been taken by the water ghosts." Lucky leaped to my side and crouched down with a low huff. I grabbed his neck and climbed on. Back in the village, Lucky came to a halt. He let out a piercing howl toward the sky. Immediately, responses echoed from every direction. From the shadowy woods, dozens of wolves suddenly emerged. Every single one of them had glowing red eyes. The villagers all rushed out, running around in a panic. Lucky carried me through the chaos. I spotted Grandpa. He was holding up the bronze mirror, shielding Grandma behind him. In front of Grandpa stood a man with long, flowing hair. That hair looked like exploding water snakes. The hair kept lashing out, grabbing the villagers' bodies and controlling them like puppets. Seeing someone charging at Grandma's back, I couldn't help but scream, "Grandma, watch out behind you." Grandma turned around in shock. She threw her cleaver with the momentum, burying it in the man's leg. Grandpa looked at me, his face pale, and roared, "Leo, didn't you escape? Why did you come back?" At that moment, the long-haired man began retreating step by step. I could tell he was trying to run. I pointed at him and shouted to Lucky, "Lucky, get him." Grandpa was about to rush over to help me, but he saw Lucky suddenly crouch down to let me off. Then, in the blink of an eye, the wolf charged forward. I heard the man let out a miserable shriek before collapsing to his knees, begging, "No, please, I am a water ghost. I only came ashore because the rain provided enough moisture. I haven't broken the rules. This isn't right." Lucky's mouth began to overflow with a thick, dark mist. I heard a sickening crack as the man's neck snapped. Immediately, a streak of black energy shot out from beneath his feet, trying to escape. But Lucky still had the tail of that mist clamped in his jaws. His belly grew more bloated as the sound of his chewing grew louder. The screams grew weaker until they vanished entirely. Grandpa and Grandma grabbed me and forced me to my knees. Grandpa shouted, "Leo, hurry. Bow to the guardian spirit." I was still dazed when a villager suddenly let out a horrific scream. I looked back and saw my uncle. He had smashed Annie Lou's head with a wooden club. She was screaming, "You monster! What are you doing? Why did you hit me?" My uncle kept shouting, "Dad, Mom, I'm here to save you." Grandpa rushed over and slapped Uncle hard across the face. "Where have you been hiding? Did you only come down now to collect our corpses?" Uncle said aggrievedly, "They're all possessed. If I didn't run, I'd be dead." Then he asked, "Where's Leo? Is he still alive?" I quickly called out to him. I ran until I was out of breath. Along the way, I noticed the dead wolves had all vanished. The spot where Lucky had been buried was now a scorched patch of earth, blackened by lightning. Grandpa shouted anxiously, "Leo, give me the guardian's tooth." Before I could react, he grabbed my hand and said, "Endure it. Don't be afraid of the pain." As soon as he spoke, he pressed the tooth into my palm. Bright red blood stained the tooth. Grandpa held it in his hands and carefully brushed aside the lightning-scorched earth, burying the tooth bit by bit. Once finished, he slumped to the ground. He panted heavily. By the time Grandma and Uncle caught up, a whimpering sound came from the black soil. Something rolled the dirt away from the inside, and a colorful little puppy crawled out. Grandpa took a long breath and said, "Leo, you're lucky he's alive. He's a divine hound." After the puppy crawled out, the colors on his body suddenly faded away. Only pitch-black fur remained. He panted with his tongue out, looking at me. I scooped him up and said, "I don't care about guardian spirits. You're just lucky, right?" The puppy whimpered at me. I looked at him in shock. I could actually understand what he was saying. Grandpa saw me dazed and asked with a smile, "What is he saying?" I swallowed hard and pointed at Lucky. "Grandpa, we might not be able to afford to keep him." Uncle looked at me, speechless. "What do you mean we can't afford him? It's just meat, isn't it?" Lucky whimpered again. I hugged him and sprinted toward the village. Grandma shouted anxiously, "Leo, slow down. Don't trip." I looked back and yelled, "Lucky is hungry." Grandma shouted back, confused. "What's the big deal about being hungry?" I kept running with Lucky in my arms and shouted, "We have to hurry while there are still water ghosts in the village. Lucky says his food is water ghosts."